welcome back to Play That Rock and Roll, where we take a look at the albums and artists of the classic rock era. One of the frustrations I have with this show is the difficulty I face when discussing big-name classic rock artists. It would take months of work and at least an hour runtime to properly present a retrospective of huge acts like Eric Clapton, David Bowie, or Creedence Clearwater Revival. Plus, YouTube blocks videos on a lark, so all that work could end up being for nothing. So yeah, that CCR episode I made the mistake of promising, that is never coming. But I do have something in the works for them. Realistically, top 10 lists are probably the best and most fun way to discuss the legacies of the real titans of rock and roll. Plus, everybody likes top 10s, right? Isn't that why BuzzFeed and WatchMojo are so goddamn popular? Couldn't be a reflection of their viewership, could it? It couldn't be that people are goddamn sheep and will watch fucking anything. Couldn't be that, right? Those websites, I tell you, are the most fucking offensive things. So let's kick this series of top 10s off with one of the biggest acts of the 1970s. Using, of course, a barometer of me. Yeah, this is not an objective list, whatever that would even be. Most all-time sales? Most downloads of last month? How worthless is that? These songs are, of course, just my picks, so let's see if they match up with yours. Here's my top 10 favorite songs by Fleetwood Mac. Hit it. When I first started work on this list, the original pool of music was quite expansive. I listened to songs from their early era with Peter Green to their post-reunion period of recent years, as well as the solo records of guitarist Lindsey Buckingham and vocalist Stevie Nicks. One of the hallmarks of my lists is that they will include songs from various band members' solo careers. I strongly believe that solo records are a part of a band's legacy, as those hits are often performed by the full band in concert, and sometimes are a product of collaboration between former bandmates. And if you don't like it, well, no offense, but I don't care. Now, I wish I could say I found some gems in their early and later periods, but if I'm being honest, Fleetwood Mac was simply on point between 1975 and 1987, which is where all of these songs come from, although they're not necessarily the ones you'd expect. Dreams and Landslide, for instance, are not on this list, and I love those songs. So what beat them out? Number 10. Fleetwood Mac produced some of its best work when the band was on the brink of tearing itself apart. 1977's Rumors was largely inspired by the breakup between Stevie Nicks and Lindsey Buckingham, and 1987's Tango in the Night represented the end of the band's classic lineup, as Lindsey Buckingham quit as soon as the record was finished. Tracks like Little Lies and especially Big Love are tense and angry songs that speak to that drama. Amidst all that, however, Tango in the Night saw the release of one of the most pleasant and relaxing songs you could ever hope to hear. That is just a beautiful song. I don't have too much to say about this one, except that it has a very soothing and charming composition. It might not be a landmark hit, but you'd be hard-pressed to find an arrangement that is just this nice. Number 9.
There's only sure fine. Friday, I got traveling on my mind. Girls love me, and they say it's wrong.
Monday Morning is an excellent example of how simplicity can lead to great music. Good songs do not need to be trumped-up mega-productions. All Monday Morning does is keep a nice melody and a tight arrangement, and it works great. Definitely one of Buckingham's stronger songs. Number 8. Now, despite what I just said, sometimes those overproduced mega hits do deliver results.
You can go your own way.
Now I can imagine some of you are calling foul and claiming that this song should be much higher on this list, as this is very much the band's opus and most recognizable hit. But to be honest, the studio version of this song doesn't really do it for me anymore. Maybe I've just heard it too many times. Now what does do it for me, however, is the live version on their 1997 release, The Dance, in which Lindsey Buckingham just kills it on the guitar solo. That is seriously one of my favorite solos of all time, and evidence that Lindsey Buckingham may be the most underrated guitarist of his era. Number 7. Go Your Own Way is off of 1977's Rumors, which features a number of songs that we will be talking about today, including this next one. Much like Everywhere on Tango in the Night, Christy McVie's You Make Loving Fun presents a pleasant and upbeat break from some of the more tense and ominous music on Rumors. And much like Joe Walsh and the Eagles, Christy McVie proves that she can hold her own in the vocal sector to Lindsey Buckingham and Stevie Nicks. Quite frankly, You Make Loving Fun is what makes this breakup album rather fun. Number 6. While it may be easy to forget Fleetwood Mac had a third vocalist with Christy McVie, it is also a huge mistake.
Tell me lies, tell me sweet little lies. Tell me lies. Oh no, no, you can't disguise.
I saw Fleetwood Mac both with and without Christy McVie, and they are just not complete without her. Little Lies is absolutely stellar live.
I hope that you understand there's a reason why.
Number 5. A better reviewer than I once pointed out that the 1980s were, quote, traumatic for a lot of 70s bands. Many bands that rose to prominence in the 1960s and 70s did not survive the 80s. While Fleetwood Mac didn't achieve the same commercial success of Bruce Springsteen or Tom Petty, they also didn't crash and burn like Led Zeppelin, the Rolling Stones, or the Eagles. I think this was partially because, like the band Genesis, Fleetwood Mac was comfortable with their members having solo careers in between band records, which Buckingham and Nicks both did. Quite well, I might add.
So I go insane, like I always do. And I call your name. She's a lot like you.
Lindsey Buckingham is at his best when he's frustrated, and he sounds straight up unhinged on this song.
Two kinds of people in this world. Winners, losers.
Buckingham usually performs this song acoustically now, which is too bad. The original arrangement is fantastic. Very much an early 80s alternative hit.
Insane.
Number 4. As good as Lindsey Buckingham's solo career is, much like his time in Fleetwood Mac, he could just not keep up with Stevie Nicks.
Stand back in the middle of my room. I did not hear from you. It's alright to be standing in line, be standing in line. I would.
This is what a pop song is supposed to be. It's a tight, upbeat, catchy anthem that features some great dueling guitars that in just a couple of seconds proved to be way more fun than what Hotel California was trying to be. Speaking of drugs, would you like to see a coked up Stevie Nicks introduce this song?
I'm only talking because I should really keep my mouth shut, but this is my chance. This is called Stand Back, and it's from the Wild Heart, which you'll hear soon. I will hand deliver it to each one of you. I will. We will. Sort of like Girl Scout cookies.
Stand Back is one of the best songs of 1983, and that is not easily said. Number 3. Okay, so by now you're probably getting an idea of what my tastes are. I appreciate the classics, but to put it over the top for me, a song usually has to be some big, loud, brash anthem out of the 1980s, or something that manages to be stripped down and simple, but also not boring. Number 3 is of the latter variety, and it comes off of Fleetwood Mac's best album. Like Monday morning, Secondhand News manages to keep it simple, while still being a lot of fun. Diddly-doo! Also, this song is always a highlight when you see it live. Number 2.
That was when I was on Klonopin, which is a tranquilizer, and that was after Coke. That was after I went to Betty Ford, I was off the Coke, I was fine, and a psychiatrist decided that what I really needed was to be on Klonopin because it would calm me down, it would keep me from going back to Coke, and this drug was more deadly than the Coke for me.
Stevie Nicks famously beat a decade-long cocaine addiction by falling into an almost decade-long Klonopin addiction, which she described as more damaging than the cocaine. This had noticeable effects on her music career. Her 1994 album, Street Angel, was not received well, and Stevie herself has lambasted it for being very boring. We had some warning about her transition to lower-energy music when she released Talk to Me, an absolute bore of a song, in 1985.
Talk to me. Talk to me. You can talk to me.
Low energy music created under the fog of a heavy depressant is usually terrible. But under the right circumstances, it can end up pretty damn good. That Rainbow's End she's referencing is seemingly an excellent metaphor for what I see as the end of the classic Fleetwood Mac era. Fleetwood Mac had an absolutely golden period from 1975 to 1987 when Stevie Nicks and Lindsey Buckingham were both fronting the band, with Rumours being the high point. Tango in the Night was definitely the end of this rainbow metaphor, as Lindsey Buckingham left immediately after finishing the album. I appreciate American Horror Story reviving this forgotten hit, as the sequence it was used in was easily the best part of the otherwise disappointing Coven. They even shot it like an old-school music video. Now before we get to number 1, let's take a look at today's mini top 3. Cover songs are one of the most fascinating aspects of pop music. Reinterpreting another artist's work can result in anything from a career-defining hit to an unforgivable insult of the source material. Since we already know there is no shortage of bad cover songs, let's take a look at the top 3 best covers of Fleetwood Mac songs. Number 3. I bet you didn't know this was a cover.
Got a black magic woman. Got a black magic woman. I've got a black magic woman.
Fleetwood Mac was a band long before Stevie Nicks and Lindsey Buckingham showed up. Back in the late 60s and early 70s, it was a straight-up blues band fronted by Peter Green, who, much like Syd Barrett, eventually went insane. But before that, he wrote Black Magic Woman in 1968. And just 2 years later, Santana turned this obscure little song into perhaps his most recognizable hit. Which is the absolute best-case scenario for an artist doing a cover. Number 2. I didn't put Don't Stop on my top 10 list, mostly because it suffers from way too much radio overplay. I've just heard it too many times, and its overly cheery message is a little eye-roll inducing. However, this is an excellent opportunity for a fresh production to breathe new life into the song, which is exactly what one well-established artist did.
Don't stop thinking about tomorrow. Don't stop. It'll soon be here. It'll be here better than before.
Elton John's version of this song is straightforward and upbeat, as it's obvious he's just having some fun on a song he loves. Playing a song straight can be great, as long as both the song and the artist covering it are of high quality. And in this case, both are top-notch. This also helps me forget that the original song will be forever associated with Bill Clinton's presidential campaign. When I saw Fleetwood Mac in concert, I was hoping Clinton would come out at the end of this song and just blow us away with an epic sax solo. I suppose he was just too busy, being fondly remembered for being a better president than he actually was.
She is like a cat,
Number 1.
and then she is the darkness.
I hate to take another song from the same Fleetwood Mac tribute album as the last one, but this song was always going to be my number 1. Sometimes, all a cover song needs is one standout instrument to take the song to the next level. In this case, that instrument is Dolores O'Riordan's vocals. The Cranberries just knock it out of the park with this one. That woman can sing! And her band isn't half bad either. This is definitely a song I consider at least on par with the original. Now before you go your own way, here's my number 1 pick for the best song by Fleetwood Mac. Number 1. God, Rumors is a good fucking album. Remember when I said Fleetwood Mac is at their best when they are on the brink of destruction? This song just embodies the tension and frustration this band was known for in areas where songs like Tusk and Big Love fall flat. Fleetwood Mac usually opens their concert with this song, and man is it funny watching Lindsey Buckingham freak out on it. So does the chain keep us together on these songs, or do you disagree with me everywhere? Tell me what you think in the comments below. Thanks again for watching. More top 10s are on the way.
Lindsay and I had a very bad fight right before we were getting ready to go back to LA. And I said, we're done. And after that, I started going out with Don Henley. That's why I say don't go out with rock stars.
What about Stevie Nicks?
Stevie Nicks has written some of the best rock songs, and I don't know her that well, but I like that strange little person that she's decided to be somebody from some fairy story, the witch woman or whatever it was. And I thought that was great.